Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Lucid Lounge with ML. Now, if you listened to my last episode, you know a little bit about who the hell I am. And if you're new here, welcome. Around here, we have real conversations about life, the strange, the unexplained, and sometimes we just follow the conversation wherever the hell it decides to take us. Dim the lights, pull up a chair, and welcome to the Lucid Lounge with ML. Tonight, I've got somebody pulling up a chair with me. My guest is Anthony, better known as Tony Marz, host and creator of the Melted broadcast. Tony is a Houston native with more than 20 years in the music and a fascination with ancient knowledge, forbidden knowledge, the fringe, the paranormal, the phenomenon, and the things that make us question everything we think we know. Through the Melted broadcast, he's created a place where experiencers, researchers, scholars, and people with stories they may have been afraid to tell can come up to the microphone without judgment. But Tony, you're usually the one asking the questions. Tonight, I'm turning that shit around on you. Welcome to the Lucid Lounge. So let's start here. Who the hell is Tony Marz?
Tony Marz. Who the hell is he?
Yes.
My name is Anthony Mariscal. I'm originally from Harlingen, Texas, a little place down south in the valley where I grew up with my grandparents. Moved up here to Houston, been here since I was about 11. And I guess, that's kind of where everything kind of got started with, my interest into these kind of topics and everything that I'm involved in right now with the Melted broadcast and, now the Melted broadcast radio.
So let's go back to when you were younger. Did you have experiences? Because you're the Melted broadcast talks about a lot of the ancient knowledge, forbidden knowledge, UAPs, experiencers. So did you have an experience when you were younger? Tell us about like what it was like growing up.
It was definitely as a kid I did have a lot of experiences. Everything from seeing apparitions to being physically touched by things that I couldn't see, stuff that I couldn't explain, to my very first sleep paralysis episode where I was in bed at my mom's old house in Southeast Houston. We had bunk beds. I was sleeping on the top, my little brother was on the bottom. And I remember waking up. Well, at first I remember I was having a super vivid dream, and it was like the old days, like the George Washington era, with the white crazy hair and the
Mhm.
crazy clothing that they wore. I guess the fashion at the time. But so I was talking to this lady. She was in the kitchen, and I guess her boyfriend or whatever, her husband, busted through the doors. It was those old school cowboy double wooden swinging doors, and I took off. And whenever I left, I woke up in real life. I was physically awake, but I was stuck. I couldn't move. I couldn't look to the side, to the left of me, nothing. I couldn't speak, but I could still hear the lady yelling, and I could still hear like the dude of his physically abusing her and her screaming, and I could hear the pots and the pans that were in the kitchen because they had like a little island in the middle,
Mhm.
and I guess all the pans were being knocked over. They were hanging up top, and you could hear all of it just ding, 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 ding. And I remember I wanted to look over to the left to look down and see what was going on because I thought maybe I could really see it. But I mean, I was stuck. I was frozen, and finally, I was able to move. And well, not really move. I was able to speak finally, and when I did, I screamed. For my mom. She ran in. I told her what happened. That was one of the first like big experiences that I had, aside from being in bed and always feeling this presence that something was behind me, like face up to the back of my head while I'm laying down, and I could feel the presence. And it was to the point where I was so afraid to turn around that I almost wanted to cry. And then something would like poke me, rub my cheek, brush my arm, and nothing would ever be there.
So is this something that stayed with you for a long time, or was this just like a couple of times and that was it? This specific the feeling that you had that somebody was there, or have you like, did it carry on with you as an adult?
Oh, it carried on. These things are still happening. Now it's to a, a even more intense level than what it used to be. But now that I'm grown and I've studied these subjects and dove into it and spoke out with other experiencers who have came on my show, I do have a better understanding of it. It can still be scary, don't get me wrong, but I'm not, like I was whenever I was a little kid and just don't know what's going on or what to believe or
Mm.
what I'm expecting whenever these things happen.
So when this was happening when you were a kid, did you tell anybody, an adult? And if you did, like, what was their reaction to that?
I told my mom. I told her a lot of the things that were happening, as far as that. And one of the main things that would always happen, and this happens even now at this house, I'll be in bed or laying down or even here in the studio and I'll hear a knocking. And it doesn't matter where I go. I could be in my old apartments over there in Pasadena to the house right here over at Fort Hood at the housing that I was at. Someone or something always knocks on my door, whether it's the bedroom door, the studio door, the garage door. And those are things that I've always mentioned to her. And being that, she's kind of into these things too as well. She studies, I guess you would call it the white magic.
Mhm.
So she has an understanding of this stuff too. And, she'll go around, sage the house and all that, do her little prayers or whatever it is that she does. But she's definitely understanding of it and supports what I do and what I go through.
So, is this what got you into your studies of ancient history, ancient knowledge, forbidden knowledge, those things? What got you into your journey of your, understanding of these things?
As a kid, for some reason, always been fascinated with Egypt. I mean, I remember being little and throwing on the TV and flipping through channels, and something about the pyramids or anything related to that would be on, and I'd just be stuck. I would sit there for hours and hours just watching it. I didn't know what it was. It was just something that caught my attention. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older, I really started getting into it and doing research whenever I came across it's a list called the Sumerian Kings list, which talked about these these Sumerian gods or kings that predated the Egyptian dynasty by thousands and thousands of years. You're talking about rulers that, I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I believe a shar was like 3,600 years. You have rulers that state on this list. One of them ruled for 16 shars, 16 times 3,600. You know, Other ones 10 shars, 4 shars. You're talking about, I guess, what other people will call demigods, ruling. And then, you go to like different other cultures, like, talking about like mythology.
Mhm.
Was it really mythology? I remember sitting down one day and I was watching something on the History Channel and it was talking about like Greek mythology and all that. And I'm just watching it and I'm thinking to myself, where did these people get these stories from?
Right.
What if it was true? What if these things really happened? But people, the academic world or whoever's, controlling wants to control the narrative of all this, changes it to, well, it's just mythology. It didn't really happen. It's just storylines. It's just, folklore,
Mhm.
stories. But there's a lot of evidence, even physical evidence, that they found in different places, whether Mesoamerica, or over in Iraq, that show that these places actually existed and actually predate a lot of this newer stuff that's out.
So, do you think that there is a missing chunk of information that's missing that we don't know about in the ancient histories?
I think as far as it comes to humans
Mhm.
and like the evolution of it, If you want to talk about something missing, I would say what people describe or talk about the missing link, which can be controversial to a lot of people because, they say in the Bible that God created us in his image and created Adam and Eve. Yeah, that's true. But the original story goes back to the Anunnaki. Enki created the humans. Yes, some people say it was to be a slave race to mine gold because supposedly their atmosphere and their planet in Biru was deteriorating and they needed the gold to, I guess, to deflect the radiation that was coming in. So they found this planet and they, created us along with the help from the Ajiji, created human beings. His brother Enlil, which I would say was the god in the Bible. Enki was the so-called serpent in the Bible, the one who had Eve, convinced her to bite the apple to get the forbidden knowledge. So now she has the knowledge. She knows that, she's not blind no more. She knows what's going on. She sees that they're naked. She sees that they're living like animals. The other god in the Bible, I would say, is Enlil, his brother. He's the one, the angry God, the jealous God. He's the one that wanted to wipe us off the map. We were getting too loud or whatever, and they weren't happy with the fact that the demigod or the fallen angels, the Nephilim, were coming down and mating with the human women, creating these giants that were going around, eventually resulting in cannibalism. And he was like, you know what, we're gonna wipe everybody out. Enki, being the humans are the ones that he created, he was the master geneticist. He didn't want that. So you have the story of Noah's Ark, which I believe was Zayasudra. And he told him, he couldn't tell him directly because the council of the Anunnaki said that you can't do that. You're not going to interfere with this. This is what's going to happen. So what he did is, while Zayasudra Noah was in, his little hut, he kind of walks, I guess, by him in the area, but doesn't, like approach him directly. He's kind of off in the distant, just talking out loud, and mentions it. So what's he do? He creates the art, saves humanity.
So, do you think that some of the information has been intentionally hidden from us?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I was going to ask, when you say forbidden knowledge, like what does that mean to you specifically?
The knowledge they don't want us to have, the knowledge that keeps us enslaved, the knowledge that keeps us stupid and ignorant. I mean, all that's hidden. Why is it that every time, for example, say physical evidence,
Mhm.
the giants, how come every time that they find giants, the bones of them, it's always they disappear. The Smithsonian comes and scoops them up, and then the the skeleton gets lost. They can't find it. They don't know what happened to it. Same thing with all the Library of Alexandria. What they do, they burnt it to the ground. All these ancient scriptures and texts, whether it's the physical scribes or whatever, or it's like the cuneiform carvings that they find in Samaria all the time. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Where do they go? A lot of them disappear. A lot of them
Wow.
get destroyed. A lot of them go to private collections on the black market, and a lot of them go to the Vatican archives, which again we're not allowed to see. Why? Because they're hiding the truth from us. They're hiding this knowledge. They don't want us to be aware on what the reality is and what our true human history is, in my opinion.
What do you think everything would look like today if that information wasn't hidden from us and we actually lived like with all that trueness that you're speaking of? Like what do you think that would look like?
I mean, what I think it would look like, you'd see a lot more advanced technology. You wouldn't have so many people being sick. You'd have this advanced, ancient healing methods. Um, healing by vibration and frequency, instead of taking all these medications that we get from big pharma. You have natural remedies that could heal, this or heal that. I can't say specifically, but I know these are the type of things they were doing back in the day. Our ancestors were doing this,
Right.
whether it was medicine, whatever the case may be. Our architecture would be so much different. I mean, when you look back to the ancients, like, look how beautiful their stuff was. Not like now they're trying to be so cheap and making, houses and whatever. I mean, they don't look like they used to. Beautiful churches, they don't do that no more.
Right. All right. So let's go back first. I wanted to go back because the melted broadcast. So where did the name come from? Like, how did you come up with that name, the melted broadcast?
So before I came up with the name the Melted Broadcast, we must go back to the idea of the Melted Broadcast.
Tell us.
So, like we spoke about before, I've always been fascinated with all these subjects, all these topics. I'm always listening to the books, watching the documentaries, anything and everything that I could visually, physically see, touch, or hear. I'm trying to get a hold of it and retain any kind of knowledge. So I grew up listening to George Norrie, Coast to Coast. I've been listening to Jimmy Church with Faded Black Radio for a long time. And then, of course, catching the reruns of the famous The Godfather, Art Bell. And I would always think to myself, like, man, it was such an awesome episode. This dude's so lucky that he gets to talk and interact with these people who actually go out there in the field and investigate and research and, like, really know this stuff. And one day I was like, you know what? Why can't I do it? It's a passion of mine. I already had the music background, so I know how to work my way around the computer and studio equipment. So I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. When I first started it, it wasn't called the Melter Broadcast. I was going for the Infinite Vision podcast. I started, my wife bought me a little cheap little recorder thing, a little mic. I had a little small little fold out laptop. It sounded like shit, but it was definitely the beginning of the motivation for, for me to get this thing going. And, I'm moving forward. I find out somebody has a name. So I'm like, okay, whatever. It wasn't meant to be. But in my mind, I'm thinking, let me create a good name, a name that's gonna catch people's attention.
Mhm.
And whenever you think about these topics or people who are talking about these topics, a lot of them, people want to, like, kind of say, yeah, like, whenever I'm on, like, psilocybin or on my mushrooms or something like that, I'm seeing all this crazy stuff. I'm seeing these ancient figures or ancient, writings and lasers and all this stuff. And it made me think, it's like, man, so your mind's melting. It's got a melted mind. And then it clicked. Why don't we call it the melted broadcast?
I like
Melted
that.
topics, the melted mind, the melted vision.
Mhm.
And, I ran with it, and things have been going really good. With the show, we've been interviewing a lot of really good guests, people at the top of their field, people from the History Channel, Discovery Channel, Ancient Aliens, authors,
Mhm.
archaeologists, all the way from South Africa to Australia, Asia, and it's I could honestly say that whenever I first started this, I didn't think that it was gonna take off like this. I did take a year off for personal reasons, but whenever I did come back, I was thinking, this is gonna take it's gonna be hard to get this thing back started. I've been gone so long. It's gonna be hard to get interviews, and it was quite the opposite.
Yeah.
We started off with the season. We started off the season with this man, I forgot his name, but he was on Monster Quest on the History Channel, and then we backdoored and did Mark Christopher Lee, who was the one that was on the news talking about that President Trump's people had reached out to him about Trump coming out and doing a disclosure speech, and
Mhm.
that his people had confirmed that this is going to happen. Hasn't happened yet, but the media hype was there, so we went ahead and got him on, and then that just opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah,
We
I
started
see.
getting, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
saw that. I saw that the Melted broadcast is growing and you got so many great people, so many great guests on there. Out of all the guests so far that you've had on the Melted broadcast though, which is the one that made you really question things? Is there one in particular?
I would have to say Guy Anderson, and I say that because at the end of the episode, we're stopping it to do a part. We're gonna eventually do a part two, but we asked him a very specific question, and it was just either pretty much who do you prefer, Albert Einstein or Nikola Tesla?
I remember that.
And it was supposed to be a real quick, just simple answer, one or the other. It
Mhm.
was like a quick fire questionnaire, and this dude was like, "Well, I don't know, cause I think Albert Einstein really got his information, all his information, from his wife, and then I have evidence to believe that Nikola Tesla didn't exist." And I was like, "What?"
Things that make you question. That's
Yeah,
what this is all about, yes.
and then he did, put us up on some knowledge that I didn't know, about the churches, and like not churches chicken, like real churches that people go to praise, you know, that they used to or could have been healing centers that would heal people by vibrational frequency. And one thing that he mentioned that really got my attention, and I think about it a lot, is they would use these frequencies and this music and these bells, but mainly the music, to heal your body and heal your organs. And then he says, so what better way to I guess to amplify that music, to introduce an actual organ into the church? And I started
Mhm.
thinking about it. I'm like, oh shit. And some of those organs, they got those big pipes that go all the way up the walls, like the real old school ones. So it
Right.
would make it would make sense that whatever frequency they're playing at, it's gonna vibrate through the whole freaking church. And it could have been for healing. I know with the bells, a long time ago, they started taking all the bells out of the churches, because they were like resonating, I think, like at the 432 hertz frequency, and then they buried them and started using something else. And
That's interesting.
then yeah, so you go back again to the question that you asked me earlier about why do they want to hide this stuff from us?
Mhm.
They don't want us to have this stuff. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to heal.
They wanna keep us. Well, think about it. I guess if they wanted to keep us sick, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to the doctor, we're gonna pay money to the doctor, and what's the doctor gonna do? Prescribe us medication. And so now pharmaceuticals are making money because the doctors are writing prescriptions left and right because we're always sick, we need them. Yeah, so I can see where. Can I say it? The you know who? Can I say it on here? The government? Am I gonna get I'm probably gonna get I'm gonna get blocked. I mean, they control everything. They want everything for themselves. So it would make sense. Yeah, things that yeah, see, this is what it's all about, questioning, question everything. Who benefits from this? Not us.
Yeah, that's always been my thing, growing up and especially as I got older, like literally question everything. Don't take something just as face value. People tell us a lot of stuff to, to try to control. And I'm always asking why. If it doesn't make sense, I'm thinking like that don't sound right. You know, my whole thing is always do your own research, especially when it comes to things like with the field that I'm in, whether
Mhm.
it's paranormal, the lost history, especially, or even stuff that deals with the Bible or like ancient scripts. You know, do your own research. Don't just listen to what the educated person tells you, the main media person tells you, because a lot of it is controlled. A lot of it is purposely misleading. A lot of it is what we call in my community a psyop.
Mhm. Okay, so let me take it back because you talked about music. So let's talk about music. You got into How did you get into music and what kind of music, what was that like? Take me there.
I was doing rap music back in the day. I was with a group called Street Profit, and we released like, back then it was CDs. We had like 5 CDs that were out, and it was going really good. We were doing shows all over Houston. We came on the radio. We were featured in Rap Illustrated Latino magazine, but unfortunately, me being the little knucklehead I was back then, running around in the streets, I wasn't in the right mindset to take it to where I know it could have gone.
Mhm.
I was still living that street life and running around with I wouldn't say they were the wrong crowd because I was kind of the wrong crowd. So, I ran around with people who are like me. And back then, I wasn't really a great person. I had a lot of anger in me.
Mhm.
I was going through a lot, and I definitely I definitely was not in the space that I am right now as a person. I even tell that to people all the time. If you would have known me like 10 years ago, even up to 10 years ago, like I, I was a whole different person than what I am now.
So the music that you did then, you changed, but you take that knowledge into what you currently do now for your podcasts. Um, I think that I heard something about, is there a radio station or something, Melted Broadcast? Like, what's going on with that?
Yes, I did start a online radio station. It's called the Melted Broadcast Radio, and it's something I've been actually working on for the past week or so, or 2 weeks. It's been an idea for a long time, but I finally put it into action. What we call manifesting. I manifested it. I put it into action. Um, it does help with the music background because even starting, I think I was like 13 years old and sitting at a computer, and I forgot what program it was. It was an old school music recording program, and I would record, on it with the old school little ear mic that they had, and I would always do my own edits, my own ad libs, mess with the music, make my own beats. So that is helping to understand the ins and outs as far as like the audio quality and all that stuff that goes into doing this radio show.
Mm.
But we do have an app coming out soon. I just submitted everything for it a couple days ago. It'll be on Apple and it'll be on Google Play that people will be able to download. And whether it's our interviews from the YouTube channel, Spotify, they could jump mainly on the radio station and other stuff. We will have different segments like on this day in the Unexplained, where we're
Mhm.
gonna go back 50 plus years. I think we had one. The very first one I dropped was like 166 years ago, and it was one of the original first recorded UFO sightings. And I thought that one was actually pretty cool. And then I'm actually dropping one today, and it's I think 66 years ago, and it was the first one of the other first accounts of these people seeing three little green alien beings after they had seen this ship, come out of nowhere and just shoot across. And whenever they finally went to encounter these little beings, they took off to the ship and like just burned off. So I'm actually going to be working on that today to put out. But these are little things that I'm be doing, along with maybe some live interviews on there. I'm not sure yet. I'm still setting up the audio input and output to get that linked straight onto the radio station.
Mhm.
But these are all things that are going to be coming out here soon in the future that I'll be working on.
Like, what kind of guest can we expect to hear on the Melted Broadcast Radio?
It's definitely going to be people who are into the topics that I'm involved in. I do have this one lady. She's a spiritual teacher, and she teaches, of course, about spirituality, about self healing, about consciousness, which is really important. I have another guy, my buddy Michael Koff, and he has two shows: The Energy That Surrounds Us, and what's the other one? I forgot what the other one's called. But this guy has over 400 episodes. You guys should go check him out. His name is Michael Koff, and he has some really great interviews. He's going to be on there. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm making like for example, today it's going to be a 7 hour playlist. It's going to be a couple of my episodes, couple of Michael's episodes, and couple of Kelly's episodes. Um, and we're just gonna play like two, two, two. But later on down the line, like whenever the app's up and running and all that, it'll be time frames. People will have certain slots where they'll be able to get in there and do their stuff, promote their channels. Like this isn't just for me. Like, yeah, my show is gonna be promoted from them promoting their stuff through the channel, but it's also gonna be a tool to help other podcasters promote their stuff as well. Especially if someone wants to start out, if they have, good material. I always tell the story about whenever I first started, I reached out to a guy named Jeff Rennell from E-Talk Radio or E-Talk TV. And I kind of just asked, wrote him on the X, asked for some advice. And, he just, he gave me the best advice that he could give me. But then he was like, you know what? He was like, whenever you release your first episode, he was like, "Let me know, and I'll put it on my network." And this dude didn't know shit about me. He didn't know what kind of content I was gonna do. He didn't know it could have sucked. It could have been trash.
You took a chance.
And yeah, he took a chance, and he freaking. I sent it to him, and he put it up there. And man, I'm so grateful for that. You know, opportunities like that, people need to go for. Because a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of people don't get opportunities like that. They go into this and they're struggling to get interviews, they're struggling to interact with people, they're struggling to get their stuff out. And like little things like that could just open up so many doors for you, and it has for me, and I'm truly grateful for that.
Right. So let's go back a little bit. I noticed that you're always on your podcast, like in your first episode, like you say it constantly. I've heard you say this before, that you have a platform where people can come on. It's not going to be no judgment. It's people, just a platform for people to come in and tell their story. What Oh, I feel like you have such a big heart that you would do that, because a lot of times people don't wanna come out. They don't wanna say what their experience is, whether it's paranormal, whether it's something else that I deal with on my shows, the topics that I deal with, they're afraid to come out. So what was it? Was it something that happened to you that made you feel like you don't want somebody else to go through this, so let me create a space for people to come in and be able to, like, it's a safe space for people to come in and tell their story with no judgment. Like, what happened, and then how do you handle that if there is people that are criticizing you on the outside? Like, how does Tony Marz handle all that?
Well, we build a community, a safe community. Yes, with the experiences that I've been through, when I do tell people, I mean, they don't believe me. They'll laugh or, I don't believe that, or it was this, it was that. Uh, you know, I've heard people say, "Nah, you're lying." But with the Melted broadcast, this is a safe community where whether you've had a paranormal encounter, you're seeing evil spirits, you're being contacted by things that you can't explain, maybe from outer space. To some people, that sounds crazy. Like, this dude's talking about aliens. I've interviewed enough people and seen enough evidence myself to have 100% belief that these things are real and this stuff really does happen. And I want people to feel safe when they tell their stories. And come on, we're not going to ridicule them, we're not going to make fun of them, we're not going to try to question their insanity. We're not going to sit there and be like, well, are you sure you weren't seeing this? Or have you been to the doctor? Have you seen a psychiatrist? We don't do that. We let everybody come on, tell their story, tell their truth. And I mean, it's really up to the audience if they believe it or not. As far as us believing in it, I mean, that's what the show is for them to come up here and tell their story. And it's not just stories. You have researchers out there that are going and investigating different sites and finding things that the mainstream media refuses to put out, or places that date back thousands and thousands of years than what the the mainstream academics are saying. Only happens 5 6,000 years ago. That these things date back past 20 plus or 12 plus thousand years ago, and different things like that. If you're going out there and doing the research and you want to come on here and tell your findings, by all means, come on here, tell us what you found. Of course, have the evidence to back it up if you're going to go that route, as far as, presenting evidence, in the scientific field or the archaeology field. But I mean, I'm all open ears. I love hearing about lost civilizations, new findings, new research. To me, it's, for one, the most important thing, and also the most amazing thing to
Mhm.
hear these things and witness it, firsthand.
So let me ask you this. I know that you mentioned when you were younger, you had these experiences and you continue to have these experiences as an adult. Was there a point in time when, talk about aliens for one, did you always believe or did you not believe and then something happened and you started believing?
Oh, I've always believed. I don't know what it was, but I remember, and I know it sounds. What did it say? What did they say? That's so
Cli-
cliche. Like I
Cliche.
would, like I would sit outside and just stare at the sky, and like I literally would just feel like I wasn't home. Like I felt connected to something out there, and I've always known that there's something else. I mean, think about it. There's They say for every grain of sand that there is on all the beaches in the world, that pretty much that's how many planets are. For every star that you see in the sky has planets orbiting it. For every single star that you see in the sky, there's planets that orbit it. Think about that. How is it that we're the only, by chance, by some crazy cosmic, chaotic chance, that we're the only, civilization, the only species that's out there? It doesn't make sense to me. There has to be something more than that.
So did you have an experience?
Oh, I've had a lot of experiences.
Do you remember the first experience
My first experience, man, as far as like what, like aliens or something, or
with the aliens? Yeah, we're going to talk about the aliens.
my first experience with aliens. I guess my first one would have to be. that I really saw something and 100% for sure got the evidence, the video would be whenever I saw the seven orbs outside my house. And, I went outside, it was 3 in the morning. I was going to smoke a brisket, and they were out there just blinking, floating down. And then they ended up splitting into three. And then the two on the side kind of like just took off. And it was like they were going to patrol the neighborhood or something. It was weird. And then the other one just kind of stayed there. And right after that, it really intensified within the next couple months following. And we're seeing a lot of orbs over the house, a lot of activity, paranormal things were happening here. Um, Seeing feet run across the backyard, bare feet, like little kids' feet, cameras all over the house. Check the cameras, there was nothing there. Doors opening and closing. People were sending drones into our backyard. It was a lot. And then those sleep paralysis episodes I was having started happening again, and then really intensified as of shit, maybe like 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. I was
Mhm.
starting to have them almost every week, and I would wake up literally screaming. And I mean, I know it's related. You know, anybody who's going through this, I would suggest talk about it or go do a regression session and see what happened. Maybe you could get some of the answers that you're looking for.
What does
So,
that entail?
so a regression is whenever a licensed professional hypnotherapist puts you under hypnosis and regresses you, meaning whether they take you back through your subconscious memories and they get you to recall what happened. And it could be, for example, maybe you had a dream that you thought wasn't a dream. They could regress you and take you back to that, and you could pretty much relive it and see, what happened. Maybe it's not what you think it was. Maybe it's memory implants, and you see what happened, or who put those memory implants with you. I've seen interviews where people have had like really bad things happen to them in dreams, but it has nothing to do, for example, say with like aliens or anything like that. It's a really bad dream that oh, I went outside and I got hit by a car. They'll get regressed, and it turns out that it was an alien abduction, and it was traumatic for them, but they put these memory implants to make it into this instead of what really happened.
That did you get one done?
I had past life regression, which same concept, but this time they take you back to, if you guys believe in reincarnation and past lives. Those that don't, this don't pertain to you. But to those that do, this they take you back to a past life, and they walk you through it. You see what happened, who you were, what was going on, and it's pretty cool.
So let me ask you this: who is Tony Marz when the mic is off, or does
I'm
the
a
mic ever
hard
come off?
I'm a hardworking man. I work in the oil and gas field, and man, we be working.
Well, how do you have time to balance life for those who are wondering? This man's got a lot going on. You've got work, you've got now a new radio station you're building, you've got the podcast that's really going hard. Like you're throwing episodes out, I believe, like weekly. And I believe you're booked out to towards the end of the year already. So like how do you balance that and life? Like your home life, like work life, like how do you balance it all? What keeps you sane?
I mean, I don't think I'm really sane. Because I mean, you got to kind of be insane to talk about these topics. But I mean, even insane to me in my life is the norm. I would say, people are like, man, that dude's weird. It's like, nah, bro, that dude's normal. You be normal, you're the weird one. But I mean, I like what I do. I like what I do at work, and I like what I do with the show. It's like I said, this is a passion of mine. So yeah, I'm always busy. I do come home, jump either in the studio or my new little side studio inside, and I'm working on the radio now. I'm working getting episode ready, a video episode ready to release. Doing all the edits, the music for it. Doing video promotions, graphic promotions for the radio. It keeps me busy. It really does, and it keeps my well, yeah, I guess keeps me sane.
Keeps you sane.
But also it helps with a lot of other things, because I did used to have a drinking habit, and things like this keep me together and focused. And there's a lot that's being asked of me as far as being a husband, being a good worker, being a good father, and doing the show and getting these interviews out and helping people tell their story. So I had to start holding myself to a higher standard and be a better person so I could execute on all those levels.
Stuff. How was that transition like for you?
It was hard at first. Well, I guess it really wasn't hard. I ended up in ICU, and it kind of felt like my body was shutting down. I had like a PTSD episode in the hospital and stuff from Iraq, and it was just a horror deal. And I didn't even know I was in ICU till like 3 days later. You know, I woke up and the lady, she was like, "Yeah, we're gonna transfer you to a different department," and I'm like, "Well, what department am I in right now?" She's like, "You're in ICU," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And so I mean, transitioning into I guess back into sobriety wasn't really that hard because I had already pushed my body to the point where it couldn't push no more. So the only alternative would be, if I kept drinking, would be the only outcome would be death. And as much as I would love to be an energy body and travel the cosmos, maybe be a creator guy somewhere, I'm not ready yet. I still have a lot to do, a lot to accomplish. And I would like to see my kids get older too. Maybe one day let one of them take over the show.
Yeah, that'd
It's
be cool.
it's pretty cool. When my kids come over, my daughter, she'll wake up real early with me, and we'll come into the studio, and she'll help me work on the videos, on editing the episode that I'm about to release. And that is something that I do want to continue doing with her, because I,
Mhm.
I know she does like these topics, and maybe we'll get little Abby on it one day.
That'd be cool. So I have a question for you. Another question, but if you can sit down like your younger, I don't know, 13 to 15-year-old self in front of you right now, like what would that conversation like? What advice would you tell your younger self?
Let's see, if I was 13 years old and me now was going back to talk to him, I'd be like, look, bruh, there's a dude named Mark Zuckerberg is gonna create this Facebook thing.
Oh
I
Lord.
think I, I think you need to create it first. You need to start thinking about reusable rockets because there's a guy who's gonna create that dude now. What else? Oh yeah, people are gonna be drinking and driving. You should create a pretty much like a taxi service online where people could go and sign up and get rides for money.
Like the Uber or DoorDash.
Nah, in all seriousness, and I think about this all the time. I honestly do. Um, if I went back and had to talk with myself, I would I would tell myself, like, hey, bro, it's gonna get really fucking hard in the future. You're gonna go through a lot of bullshit. You're gonna have to deal with a lot. A lot of things gonna happen to you, and it's gonna suck. But I promise you, once you break through it, you're gonna be in a better place, and it's gonna be worth it. And I always think back, like people ask me, "Would you do it again?" And I always tell them, "Yeah, I would," because I would relive my life. I mean, yeah, there's some things I'm not proud of, some choices I made that I'm not
Mhm,
proud of. But if I hadn't gone through all those things in my life, you know, who would I be right now? Because of those things that I went through and had to deal with, and a lot of the things that I put myself through, a lot of this stuff was self inflicted wounds. It was me doing it to me, and I wouldn't be who I am right now. Maybe I wouldn't have the compassion right now that I have for myself or for people, or the understanding, of the homeless guy down the street, or the little kids that are with their mother on the sidewalk selling roses,
mhm,
you know, the drug addict that's out there, fiending for their next hit, or the alcoholic that's, continuously trying to go through recovery. I understand all this now, you know, and and I guess that's why I care so much, and I try to help out whoever I can. I mean, yeah, sometimes it does backfire on me, but I just can't help it. I hate seeing people put in the same situations that I was in. Again, I put myself in these situations,
mhm.
but it's I hate seeing it. But yeah, going back, I wouldn't change anything.
So, what is the biggest regret that you have? Is there one? We all have one.
No regrets.
You don't have no one big regret. What's the biggest comeback for you?
Um, the biggest regret that I have, I don't know. Maybe spending $100 on a lottery ticket and losing.
That's probably regrets for a lot of us all the time, like trying to buy the lottery ticket to win. What about your biggest comeback? What would you say is your biggest comeback
Right now,
right now? Everything that you got going on?
yeah, everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm accomplishing and still have to accomplish. I mean, I really see this show doing a lot, in the future. And I'm not saying it just because it's my show, but I truly feel and see that this show has a lot of potential. And just with the relationships that I've built and with the people that I've interacted with, I know it's reaching out to a lot of people, and it's making an impact, and it is doing good things. And I just want to continue to do that, maybe one day be on another level. But like I tell other podcasters, you're not going to get there unless you grind, unless you're at this every day,
Mhm.
pushing forward and pushing forward and pushing forward. It's not just going to happen overnight. And you know I grind super hard with the show, and I try to push as much as I can, and I know it's going to pay off to where one day I will be on that level.
So, what do you think is next for the Melted broadcast for Tony Mars? Like, what's 2027 looking like? Do you have an idea?
2027, I'm not sure yet. Right now I'm just focusing on finishing out the year, closing it strong. I mean, this year has been so strong with the episodes.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's been ridiculous, but I want to close it out that way, And again with the Melted Broadcast radio app that's going to be coming out, I'm hoping that that's going to take it to a whole nother level, and just see what happens. Things could change from today till tomorrow. Somebody could reach out to me tonight. Somebody could have an opportunity for me in the next 10 minutes. I
Mhm.
could, miraculously create an opportunity with an interview, and not even know it, and then next thing you know, next week I'm doing something I would have never thought I'd be doing with somebody I never thought I'd be doing it with. That's kind of how it happens.
Who's the dream guest? Who's your dream guest?
My dream guest, oh man, that's so hard. That's really hard. I mean, I don't know. Uh, I mean, I got so many dream guests. Uh, Freddie Silva. Um, this guy's already passed away. Jordan Maxwell. Man, that dude was so freaking amazing, so knowledgeable. Another one, David Wilcock. He's since passed as well,
Mhm.
which really sucked. I had been listening to his stuff for so many years, since like pretty much since the beginning. And let's see who else. David Icke would be pretty cool to get on. Talk about some reptilians. I think I do have a contact, but through Guy Anderson, he's actually touring with him right now, and Billy Carson. But yeah, I guess those would be my dream guest. I'm sure there's a lot more. I just can't think of it right now, because I mean, there's so many fascinating people out there with so much fascinating information and knowledge that I listen to all the time, and it's just so hard to, I guess, to put together my dream team list.
Okay, I'll let you make it on that one. All right, Tony, the Lucid Lounge question. Okay, so everybody who pulls up a chair in the Lucid Lounge gets one final question. All right, tomorrow morning you wake up and you're giving unidentifiable proof, answering one mystery about existence. No theories, no debate. You get the absolute truth. It could be about aliens, God, death, consciousness, human origins, anything. But you only get one answer. What question are you asking?
I'm asking for the, I guess, hmm, I guess the origins of humans. If we really want to, take it back, and with the conspiracy theories, and then the alternative theories to what's stated in the Bible, I would like to know who really created the humans. If it was an advanced alien race like the Anunnaki, and just the true story of us.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. All right, Tony, and where if you can tell everybody where you they can find your street, the Melted Broadcast Radio, like all the information to get in touch with you, or to listen to any of the shows or radio station.
Well, first of all, you guys could go follow me on Facebook at Tony Marz MB. That's Tony Marz. M as in Mike, B as in Bravo. You could check us out on YouTube / at the Melted Broadcast, Spotify, the Melted Broadcast. Check us out on the website. We have all our links on there. TheMeltedBroadcast.com. You can reach out to me at the Melted Broadcast at iCloud.com. I do respond to everybody who writes me. I read everybody's emails, everybody's messages. I respond to everybody. Um, and as far as radio, just I would say follow me on Facebook, and right there you'll pretty much get all the information on it. When the download link will be available, because right now I'm only posting on Facebook the links to where you could get direct access on your phone, not as an app. But I mean, reach out to me, come tell your story, and let's hear your truth.
There you have it, folks. Tony, thank you for being here. And to everybody watching and listening, I'm ML. This is the Lucid Lounge. Dim the lights, pull up a chair, and let's see where the next conversation takes us. Good night, everyone.
Late night mic, the red light glows. One small truth in a room that knows. We've got miles of worry, names and blame, but every heart still wants the same. A place to land, a voice to trust, a little peace in the middle of the rush. We talk it out, we figure it out, from the first hello to the last word out. Any topic, any road, any town. If you say it real, we'll turn it around. Side by side, we can be heard. One good conversation can change the world. We talk it out, we figure it out. That's what we're about. Coffee cups and a spinning wheel. Funny stories, a wound that heals. Big ideas with a human name. Same old fears in a brand new frame. Some are lost, some are already found, but every answer starts with a sound. We talk it out, we figure it out, from the first hello to the last word out. Any topic, any road, any town. If you say it real, we'll turn it around. Side by side, we can be heard. One good conversation can change the world. We talk it out, we figure it out. That's what we're about. When the night gets loud and the signal fades, we lean in close, let the static break. No perfect script, no polished line, just honest words at the right time. We talk it out, we figure it out, from the first hello to the last word out. Any topic, any road, any town. If you say it real, we'll turn it around. Side by side, we can be heard. One good conversation can change the world. We talk it out, we figure it out. That's what we're